What's up, guys? This is going to be a quick how-to video, how to install your Uniden laser jammers. I have the front and rear kit, and it's running on an R4W. What prompted this video was I saw Vortex Radar's, I think it's been 4 or 5 days ago, I saw him post it, his video about some of the problems with the Uniden non-W detectors and the lasers not alerting and some bugs. And I saw some comments, so thank you to the people that I was chatting with in the comments. I saw some questions popping up of people wondering, you know, where do you go to get it? How far away is it? You have to pay for a professional install and a couple things like that, man. So I just kind of wanted to go over that in this video, show you how I have it set up on my car. Spoiler alert, it's been flawless for me, but there are some best practices that you should follow when you're installing it. So in case anyone is thinking that you want to invest in this kit, I say it's definitely worth it. You don't need to let your local shop do it. You know, some of the quotes I got were pretty crazy, so you can do it, especially if you have a garage. It took me about 2 days and I wasn't in a rush. So I'm going to walk through how to do it. So yeah, let's get to it. All right, guys, so this is my car. This is a 2012 Nissan 370Z. With the Amuse body kit on it. So I'm going to walk you guys through how I went about installing it from the information that I found, because when I bought the kit, there was some talk on a forum about some of the best practices, and I implemented those and they worked for me. But there also wasn't too much of a how-to. So I'm going to try to quickly burn through this, man. So in the front, as you see, let me get my flashlight. In the front, we've got the 3 jammers. That's going to be going from left to right. So I'll start with the wiring. Left to right is how you want to wire it up. So this is jammer number 1, jammer number 2, jammer number 3. And then in the back, you're going to follow suit, left to right, if you're looking at the bumper 4, 5, 6. So 1, 2, 3. And then in the rear, we've got, let me get up on it, 4, 5, and 6. So that's what we're looking like in the rear. So the first thing for the wiring, the reason you want to do it that way is because in the detector, which mine is up here, in the detector, the default settings for the laser jammers, let's say you needed to reset your detector to factory settings, or that detector broke and you wanted to swap in another one. I'm using an R4W for reference. It would default to those ports. So in the Uniden app, you can wire any one of these. You could make this one number 6, that one number 4. You know, you could do whatever you wanted. But if that was ever to get reset, you wouldn't know which one is which. So that's why you want to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's the wiring part. Now, as far as the mounting, you'll notice that these have these little bubbles, and you see that I still even left the factory little plastic on the top of it, and they perform flawlessly even with that on the front, and I left it there for rain, rocks, etc., and it works fine. But anyway, you see these bubbles, right? You want to face the bubbles in. You want to face the bubble in, and then you'll notice that this bubble is facing that direction. And then so what is this one going to do? This bubble is going to face in to that detector. So all your bubbles need to face in. When they tested it, when this was coming out, they tested it this way, and in this orientation, the system performed the best. So remember that. Bubbles in towards one another. This way, this one faces this one, and then set this one to face that one. Real simple. And then you're going to follow suit in the rear. So I'll show you what the rear looks like. Same thing in the rear. We've got this bubble facing in to this one, and then you got this one on the edge facing into this one. That's how they perform best. So that's what you want to keep in mind. And since we're at the rear of the car, I'll talk about placement. So ideally, you know, when an officer is shooting you, they're going to aim at your tail light. They're going to shoot you here in the rear tail light, and they're going to shoot you around this region in the headlight. So the ideal placement in a perfect world, you're going to want to have one sensor about right here, which would be a receiver. Then you'd have your transmitter somewhere here in the middle, which is right where mine is. And then your other receiver would be right on here. But obviously, the world's not perfect like that. You're not going to have that unless you did some sort of custom setup where you sunk it in. So the idea is close to the taillights as you can and close to your headlights as you can. Now on my car, because I have this Amuse bumper, you see how narrow mine are. Like there's a pretty good range from here to here. You know, that's a pretty good distance. It has performed flawlessly, guys. Like they'll shoot me in the front, and I usually run my jammers at constant on. They'll shoot me in the front, look down at their gun, look pretty confused, and then they'll turn around and shoot me in the rear. And these have worked every single time. So even if you have to go a little bit narrow, it'll still work. And you'll see that I've got this bit of a downward curve. Had I moved it over, the jammer wouldn't have sat flat. It would have sat like this. So I would have had one sitting like this, one flat, and then I would have had another one sitting at a weird angle. And remember, you want to get them flat. That's the idea, as flat as you can. So I originally had put them over there, and then after reading that, I slid them over. I played with the placement a lot. So keep that in mind. Get them as flat as you can. Now, the next thing I'll touch on with mounting is the depth. So notice that my bumper has a little bit of curve to it. Like you'll see in the front, it pokes out a little bit, and then it curves around a bit. So if you notice, these on the side right here, these are actually pushed out a little bit further front. That way they are in line. Imagine this is a big invisible wall. These are in line with that front one. They're all flat. So if you have a bit of a curve, you might have to bump it out. That way you have this nice flat line. Like if it's just a big, flat, invisible wall, that's what you're going for, front and rear. You're gonna mimic the same thing. Now, something else I'll touch on with the placement is, you see, well, I'll give you maybe this angle. It's a little bit better. So if your officer, whoever's shooting you, is gonna be aiming at this, you don't want to recess these too far back. You know, if they're somewhere back off, you know, back here, they're going to touch that headlight and it's going to reflect before the sensor gets to it. So you want to pull these forward a bit, not too far. When I first did it, I had these guys sticking pretty far out because I was concerned about it, and it was kind of ugly. So I sunk them back. But you'll notice, let's see, this angle's, let me zoom in a little bit. This angle right here kind of shows it. This is nice and flat. It's a flat wall this way, right? So this is what's going to receive that hit from the officer. So if we draw this wall right here, you see what I'm saying? From here straight up, your detector or your jammer is going to catch it as it's coming in. So you want to have it in front of the body of the vehicle. Now, you don't have to poke it like egregiously out, like send something crazy. You ain't got to do that, but have it about just enough where it pokes out. So you're going to do that front and rear. So I'll show you guys the rear as well. So you'll see my rears, they tuck right there. You know, they're slightly recessed because it looks best in my opinion, but also see where these are sitting. And then let's look where my actual taillights are. They're shooting here. This is catching it over here before they even get to my taillight. See what I'm saying? So that's going to be your best practices, guys. Put the bubbles in to one another. Get them as flat across in a straight line as you can. You know, don't have one here, one here, one here. Try to get them flat and uniform. And then in the depth realm, you want to get them flat and uniform and have them poked out where you have a nice invisible force field wall that's going to catch all those hits as they're coming in towards your taillights. That's really it as far as the principle behind how you want to mount it to make sure that it performs how it should. The last thing I'll touch on is how do you mount it, right? So what I'll do is overlay it on the screen right here. You can get this stuff from O'Reilly's. It's 3M double-sided molding tape. Like you can like mount spoilers and side skirts with this stuff, man. And they have it at your local O'Reilly's. So go pick up some of this, and this stuff is great. I'll show you how I got it. So if you're not trying to do all the mounting and all the crazy stuff, let me zoom in. Boom, right there. You can see where I have that little black strip, you know, right in this region. Sorry, it's a little dark. All that is a strip of that 3M mounting adhesive tape. And I will show you, like, these guys do not move. I mean, I have topped the car out top speed, and these things do not move. I have never had to adjust them. I've never had one fall off, like nothing in the similar. Nothing has fallen. It has not failed. It's been perfect. So a cheap way to mount them, just get you some of that tape. Don't worry about doing all, drilling into the bumper and doing anything wild. And the last point that I'll touch on is you see these adjustment screws? These guys right here adjust. When you loosen that screw up, this guy, when you loosen it up, it allows you to tilt it up and down, to decide what angle it's going to be at. And on a car like mine that's low, the temptation might be to do it like that, right? Like you might want to lift it up. Don't do that. You want to keep it flat. So when you're adjusting your screws, set the horizon and zero it out. So where your jammers are flat this way, they're flat in a line, and then they're facing flat. You don't want them like this. You don't want them like this. And you definitely don't want one here, one here, one here. Zero those guys out. I do believe that the kit comes with a mini level that can help with this, but yeah, set them all at 0. And the last tip for when you're setting the tilt on them, do not over tighten these screws. These little guys right here, don't over tighten those, because you will over torque them and they will break. That's what happened to this guy, as you'll see. That's why I don't have a screw right there. And what I did to remedy it was, that is some 3M double-sided stick tape, not the molding tape. It's not as strong. And then I just Sharpied it black. So by doing that, I've got not really a lot of give, like a little bit of give, but nothing crazy, because this one was just flopping down the road. And I did make a video about my experience with Uniden customer service. And I called to try to send that one off to be repaired, and no one ever reached back out to me. So I was just stuck with a broken jammer. So my fix, instead of buying another $400 jammer, was to stack it up with that stick tape, and it's been flawless. Hasn't failed. So yeah, that's really it. Basic principles to follow. It's super simple. You can definitely do it in your garage. Just maybe take out a piece of notebook paper and plan like where you want it. How does your grill look? How does your bumper look? What do your interior panels look like? And then just route it. You know what I mean? And I'll show you where mine is routed. That's where my detector is. It's hardwired into the fuse panel, which is down here on the Z's. Z's in the rear, they just go through a little hole that we've got on the 370. I didn't even have to drill through it. Just run it through your trunk. You might have to go underneath you're going to have to definitely go underneath your interior panels. You might have to run through the headliner. On this car, I believe I dropped it down and went through the kick panels. And then in the front, same idea. Run them all to the laser transponder, which mine is mounted. Let me show you where that is quickly. And for that, I used the same mounting tape, man, to mount this guy. It's the automotive 3M. I just found a little spot right here on the chassis. That's where the transponder box is, and it's solid. Like, that guy ain't moving. So that's where you're gonna plug them all into. This tape that I used was so when I was wiring and routing, I knew which one was which, and I just never took it off. So that might be helpful as you're installing them, so you remember which one's number 1, which one's number 2. Just tape them up and then write on them as you're wiring them. And then through the bumper, nothing crazy. We just have it going from 1, running over here. You see there, they're bundled up, and they're just zip tied. They're secured with zip ties, man, and it's been great. So really just plan, figure out on your car what works best. Take a second, look at it, and then just plan it, dude. But yeah, that's all you got to do, guys. Last thing that I think I forgot to touch on is in the wiring, the reason you want to set them up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the rear is because you want your receivers to be on the outside. So the receivers need to be your outside ones, so that up front it'll be 1 and 3. These are the receivers, and then your middle head is going to be your transmitter. So then you're going to do the same on the rear. This is going to be a receiver. This one's going to be the transmitter. And then number 6 is going to be a receiver. So can't remember if I said that or not in the first part of the video. So yeah, you won't have to worry about it if you follow the routing how I said, because that is going to default when you check the detector page. And maybe I'll try to overlay it on the screen. But when you check the settings, it'll default number 2 to be the transmitter, and then number 5 to be your transmitters, and then the others will be receivers. It'll default to that. Last thing I don't think I said was hopefully common knowledge. If you've ever routed amplifiers or subwoofers, this would obviously make sense to you. But when you get these guys bundled up in the box, you're going to have to drill a hole in your firewall. On this car, I drilled one somewhere down there. You probably won't be able to see it. In your car, before you drill, take off the panels underneath where the pedals are, or maybe check the passenger side. A lot of times they have these factory grommet holes that are about this big, and they'll just have them plugged with a piece of rubber. Sometimes you can just take the whole grommet out, or you can just put your drill through the grommet and then run your wiring that way. So you might not even have to drill your own hole. So yeah, that's the last thing, is you'll have to drill a hole in the firewall, but check out first what you got going on. You might not have to do that. So yep, that's everything, guys. So yeah, man, just to quickly recap, the most important points that you want to pay attention to is when you're mounting them, do your best to get them level. Try not to have one here, one here, one here. Try to get them flat across, and then also try to get the depth of them equal, as if there was an invisible wall. Try to have them even as you possibly can. And then with the bubbles on the sensors, turn your bubbles inward towards one another. They found that they performed the best when they were set up in that arrangement. And then also for the wiring, set your ports to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, with the 2 and the 4, or excuse me, the 2 and the 5 being your transmitters, because that's how the system will default to. So those are the key points, key takeaways, things to remember. Other than that, guys, I say go out there, do it yourself. Don't pay $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, whatever kind of quote you get to install it at your local shop. You can definitely do it yourself. So get out there and crush it, guys. Peace.